The UK needs to do more to help those forced out of work by the COVID-19 pandemic. According to a major new report out today, the UK needs to wait to fix its public finances until after the pandemic is over. So in this video, we take a look at the findings of this report, which say that the British economy is now at a critical juncture. What does it all mean? I'm Martin Bamford, a chartered financial planner at Informed Choice, and in this video, why the UK finds itself at a critical juncture. That's according to the OECD, the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, in their annual report, which looks at the state of the British economy and also some forecasts for the future, but concludes that the British economy now finds itself at a critical juncture. So we're going to look at what they say in the report and what this all means for the economy, for our money in the future. The headline findings of the OECD's annual report is that the COVID-19 pandemic threatens to worsen already serious issues with firstly productivity and secondly inequality. And then we've also got the looming issue of the Brexit trade talks, which could further damage the UK economy. The report says decisions made now about management of the COVID-19 crisis and future trade relationships will have a lasting impact on the country's economic trajectory for years to come. In comparing the UK economy to other developed economies, members of the G7 group of countries, the OECD concluded that the UK economy had contracted by the most of all seven in the second quarter of this year, and then in August this year had lost momentum when it came to recovery. And with the various national governments now considering tightening their coronavirus measures, and in some cases introducing temporary circuit breaker lockdowns, we could see the economy slow further still, with an even more dramatic rise in job losses. The OECD is forecasting that the British economy will shrink, it will contract this year by 10.1%. And then next year it believes it will grow, but only by 7.6%. It also quite worryingly thinks that the unemployment rate next year will average 7.1%, up from today's level at 4.5%, so big job losses predicted for next year. And turning its attention to the new job protection scheme announced by Chancellor Rishi Sunak, the OECD said additional spending on active labour market measures are welcome, and further increases would help to accompany unemployed workers in their job search and ease adjustment to new working arrangements. Now, earlier this week I spoke in a different video about the significant and inevitable tax hikes coming in the future to repay the massive amounts of public borrowing that's happened. The UK economy now has its biggest ever peacetime budget deficit, and public debt has reached over 100% of GDP. But on public borrowing, the OECD said that low borrowing costs, low interest rates can allow this to happen. They said once the recovery is firmly established, addressing the remaining structural deficit and putting the public debt to GDP ratio on a downward path should come to the fore. And they note that the UK's tax to GDP ratio is currently quite low when compared to some other European countries. It's currently at around 33.5%. So there is scope to increase taxes in the future to pay back all of this public borrowing, which all means we're likely to see the Treasury squeeze additional tax revenue out of individuals, so us as individuals, but also businesses, and we're likely to see additional tax revenue in the form of additional wealth taxes on properties, on inheritance, and also on higher national insurance for the self-employed, probably a variety of other tax measures too, because there's an awful lot to claim back. Now, those tax rises are not likely to happen just yet. They'll probably wait until the recovery has started to take place, but they really are inevitable. Those tax rises are coming down the track at some point. The OECD is also recommending in its report that the government scraps the triple lock on state pension income. Now, that triple lock was introduced back in 2010 by the coalition government, and it guarantees that state pension income will keep pace with prices, so it will maintain its value in real terms after inflation. The triple lock ensures that state pension income rises by the highest of average earnings, price inflation, as measured by the Consumer Prices Index, or CPI, or 2.5%. But the OECD thinks this is now unaffordable and thinks the UK government should scrap that triple lock guarantee. And then turn into Brexit, because of course, despite this pandemic, Brexit is still looming. The OECD believes that the cost of Brexit to the UK economy, assuming a trade deal is struck, will be about 4.2%. So the UK economy will be around 4.2% smaller than it would have been had the UK stayed in the EU. Contributing to that smaller economy is the cost of border checks and also red tape for working with EU workers. There are some positives to come from the Brexit deal, including streamlining regulations and the ability to strike trade deals with countries outside of the EU, but those positives sadly will not outweigh the damage that the Brexit does to the size of the UK economy. Turning to the Bank of England, the OECD thinks there is limited scope for further monetary stimulus. However, low interest rates mean that there is lots of scope still for further fiscal stimulus. Now, fiscal stimulus is typically the stuff the government does. It's things like lower taxes and borrowing money to spend money, whereas monetary stimulus is typically cutting interest rates and printing money, quantitative easing. So scope here for fiscal stimulus, additional fiscal stimulus, but probably no further scope for monetary stimulus. And they don't believe that the Bank of England will take interest rates negative. I'll make a future video on this one because I share that view. I don't think we're going to see negative interest rates here in the UK. I know they've been spoken about an awful lot recently, but I genuinely don't see them happening, don't see them coming into the UK in the next year or so, as some commentators believe. But I will explain my rationale for that in a future video. So what do you make of the OECD's comments and recommendations and forecasts? Do let me know in the comments below. Please do subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, and also leave this video a like. Until next time, I'm Martin Bamford. When it comes to your money, the more you know, the faster it can grow.